Okay. Welcome back, folks. This is House Constitutions. It is after 5 o'clock. Friday, March 21st. It's kind of like Wednesday or Thursday. We want to go home. We have our last step of the day here, we hope, draft 4.1. And we want to get this in good shape so that we can vote this out. We are missing members of the committee, so we are not going to be doing a vote today. Some folks had to leave. But we want to make sure our draft is in good shape. So when we come back Tuesday morning, we can vote the bill out. And it will give us time over the weekend also to do some work. So John, I'm going to turn it over to you and you can show us where all the changes are.
Sounds good.
Done the line by line.
So John Gray, Office of Legislative Counsel. For context, a lot of times when we look at drafts, you can assume that all of the highlighting reflects changes you have not seen. In this case, that is not true. And the reason for that is that I wanted to maintain all the highlighting so that our editing team could see everything that's been picked up. So I will call out when something is new to this draft, but you're going to see more highlighting because it's the old highlighting plus what I just did while I was in Senate Appropriations.
So before John goes on, should have your draft 3.1 in front of you, because I'm sure you probably made some notes on there. For changes. So it's really important to have the previous draft in front of you if you made notes on it for changes. So it's a double check, make sure that everything got picked up. It will help John in the long run.
So first change is on page 3. Your first line in section 2, talking about BTS, statewide planning reuse. I will tell you changes that didn't happen that we talked about. On page 4, we had talked about the correctional facilities, whether DOC needed to be included. And what we heard from Wanda Manoli was that they were comfortable with this approach going to AHS. So those were not done. I do need an Oxford comma on line 5. So that's one I gotta.
You're gonna do another draft for a comment?
Yeah. I mean, we don't have to, but since this isn't going out until Tuesday, I can easily do that.
Line 18. Yeah, that's not gonna change.
So where are you talking about a
Line
comment?
5.
It's the first line of each FY26 appropriation to AHS. So statewide planning, design, and construction for both fiscal years.
Gino, you got to win.
As well as Troy.
Yep. So both fiscal years.
Upgrades, Alice. There you go. Field goal.
All right, moving on.
The next changes. Let's see.
It's page 6.
Page 7, I think it is.
Yeah,
Combination.
page 6. You missed one for
Yeah.
you. You missed one, John. For
Line
you.
9,
Page
it's gonna say
6.
historic.
It is Vermont. It's lines, page 6, lines 2 and lines 9.
Okay.
Vermont Underwater Historic Preserve.
So
Just insert the word historic. in Vermont.
It's Vermont. Vermont Underwater Historic Preserves.
So I think those were things you all discussed
That was
before I was.
before.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but Scott had mentioned to me. I took silence on them during the last time I was in here to mean that was no longer a request, but easy enough to add. Yep.
Because tracks.
And now, back to Jeff.
No, we decided to keep.
Thank you for being here, Jeff. Okay.
That's why it's important to
Yes.
And
have the
You know, we-
draft in front of you.
you may find something because I was doing this literally sitting on the floor in Senate appropriations.
Literally sitting on the floor.
Yeah, I got called out for sitting on the floor. I
Very
was like,
poor seating.
Indian style.
what? You know?
Yep. So anyway,
Yep, page 7. Changes for the Human Services and Educational Facilities Competitive Grant Program. This has been condensed. This was 150 and 150 for Human Services and Education.
We did talk about having some language for this.
Yes, it's later.
It's later, equally divided.
Yep. If you go to page 8, you're going to see the same change made. So both fiscal years, we picked up that update. And then the language changes to the top of page 9.
I'll see.
Subsection C, it is the intent of the General Assembly that the sums appropriated in those subdivisions be equally allocated between grants for human services and grants for educational facilities. I use the terms that were in the competitive grant program title. So educational facilities is what's in the competitive grant
Yep.
title. I will say the reason I used equally and not something like relatively equally is because this is expressing intent. So
Yeah.
obviously they could vary from this if they need to. It's just saying, we hope you do this.
Excellent.
Logical.
Oh, wait a minute.
Mhm.
Equally allotted. It may not be equally.
Right.
But it is the
Yeah.
intent. It's the intent.
Yeah, it doesn't mean it has to be, it's their intent. The intent is-
You're expressing intent that these guys allocate this equally and they can vary from that. It's getting across that you want it to be comparable, but they don't have to be.
But I think in fact, that is the intent. The problem is that you may have the subscription rate of the grants is different. That's why they were combined.
Yep.
And that's what Commissioner Manoli testified to.
Right, she wants the flexibility to move it between the two.
Yeah, and that's because they're condensed into one subdivision, you can use the 300 across both.
Yep.
Yep. Next changes are on page 11, I believe. Yes, and you'll see that in two instances when we get to page.
And that's different than the spreadsheet.
No, it isn't. It's park infrastructure and rehabilitation, comma.
So that's not what's on page 11.
This park infrastructure rehabilitation and improvement,
Oh, that's,
yeah,
oh, that's not right.
which is not right.
No, it is park infrastructure and rehabilitation, comma, improvement and 3-acre compliance.
This was the,
Yeah, I was with you. I had interpreted it as you did. And then when it showed up differently on the spreadsheet, that's what.
So the end is in the wrong spot, right? That's what the
So-
issue is.
park infrastructure and rehabilitation, comma, improvement, comma, 3-acre rule.
If you put a comma after improvement, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, we do.
yes, we do. But luckily, these are small potato changes. They're not things we get to debate on Tuesday, so.
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Donahue might pick it up.
Well, no, we're.
We're doing this.
I'm guessing not, because these kinds of things have been in all
Yeah.
prior capos. The next change is page 15, I believe.
Yep.
Wow.
We're on 15.
Let me see, I'm just making sure.
Oh, this one's, is it? No, it's not what I'm thinking. Oh,
This is, so on page 15, subsection C, we're talking about the summer boilers, Vermont State University. We've added language to say that the commissioner is additionally authorized to transfer any unexpended project balances between the amount appropriated in subdivision A2, which just to call out, that's your Vale.
Yep.
And the amounts appropriated in your 2023 capital bill on the same.
Yeah.
So that was the transfer authority.
Yep.
That's what we're looking for.
I think we shortly have some other small changes. Page 16, we added a comma to the statutory field station on line 8.
The yellow.
Yep,
What page here? I'm
page
sorry.
8.
Page 16,
Line 8.
line 8.
See the comment?
Yep.
Yep,
At the bottom of the page, something you won't see, but that will be made more clear when you flip to the next page. I've removed the subsection A for the start of section 14 because you no longer have a subsection B.
yep.
Oh.
Yep.
Previously, this subsection B specified the don't use for cost of maintenance or fuel, but because we settled on the project line items are specific to what the uses are, that was no longer necessary.
Yep.
Yep. The negative implication
Yep.
thing.
And we've,
St. Albans Franklin people, yep, yep.
But we're
and
I
current.
can speak in other tenses if you like.
Yep.
Let me know.
I'm just hearing of both ends of the table here.
Well, I mean, in my world, if you just stay silent, John's gonna sit there and go, "Are you guys ready?" And I say, "Yeah."
ha.
I mean,
The,
other people would be ready.
Clark.
the very bottom of the page, we've updated excess, very bottom of that same page, 16.
Awesome.
6 County Courthouse said expansion, that's been updated to connector and security upgrades.
Yep. Okay, we'll change the words. I'm agreeing.
I like yep. I personally like yep. Page 20 is our next change.
Okay.
Huh. I don't know how to respond to that. We're talking about line 13.
Betsy and Rastus running roll calls.
Yeah.
And I
Good stuff.
appreciate
Good
that.
stuff.
I'm gonna withhold from making any wisecracks, because I know we all want to go
We do
home.
want to go. What line are we on?
Line 13 of page 20. This is the Better Roads program. We've added
Yes.
grant. Yes, the roads grant program.
Okay, thank you. Also, yep.
Next change, which won't be visible, is 22, section 19, the cash. I'm sorry. On 22, what you're actually going to see is all the new notwithstanding language,
Yeah,
Right.
which we previewed on the screen before I left earlier.
Yes.
and I'm just leaning on Troy.
I'm gonna give it one more look this weekend.
That's true. We now have, yeah. The weekend.
Yeah.
Depend on Troy on this.
You don't want to take this line by line, Alice?
No.
I thought you were
That's what I
raining.
wanted to hear.
I can roll this up, Joe.
The answer is yes. You please, Madam Chair.
Mutiny
There'll
if I
be a
do
mutiny.
that. Oh,
Page 24, this work will not be visible, but where subsection B, which starts on line 6. We previously had language to say at the very end of this sentence, and we're talking about the future appropriations and appropriations act for FY 27, which shall be allocated pursuant to subsection E. We've now removed subsection E, which was the report by December 15th piece.
Yes,
You
sir.
no longer need that clause. And that's the other thing that you won't see. On, I think it's page
Page
26.
25, because E is transfer now.
Yep. So exactly. So what you'll see in D, we're on page 25. Subsection D starts on line 11. You're going to see all that highlighting there. The reason this is highlighted is that concept is not new. This previously was a section that dealt with multiple authorizations. And so it was set up to have a lead-in and then 2 subdivisions that spoke to particular projects. The second of those projects was your 3Bs.
Yep.
We've now removed that. So what was a standalone drinking water state revolving loan fund language has popped up into the main body of subsection D. That's why you see highlighting there.
Right.
Same appropriation as 14.5. That hasn't been changed. It's just been kind of reorganized to make it clearer. And as Troy pointed out, what you see for subsection E transfer, this used to be subsection F because you've now removed that recommendation language in the prior draft.
Mhm.
So it is the December 15 request.
Where are
Right
you?
here.
Where are you?
There's nothing to see. There's nothing to see.
Okay. Okay, I'm following it, but I'm
Bottom of
processing
26.
it a lot quicker than a lot of folks because I have to be prepared for this to back it up.
For sure.
Page 25, I'm on 20. It's for-
Yeah.
Exactly.
We formerly had that December 15 at
Right.
this place,
Right.
and that was your subsection E. Now you see the transfer section, which talks about transfer authority, made subsection E. It was formerly subsection F. And I just added in that heading because all of the other sections have a subsection heading.
Right.
The
I'm
next,
tracking it with my previous draft, so it's taking a little longer to make sure.
I got mine right here.
Yeah, but I may not work this quick. I'm trying to make sure
Yep.
that I
we did
have
the
it.
same thing too.
the next change is page 29. Your section 24, which starts on line 3. This is the capital complex. I've made some formatting updates to indent, so you can see that you're amending a section for section 27. And then more importantly, substantively, I've added that the notice that goes out from the capital complex special committee
Oh, yeah.
will go, in addition to the Montpelier Flood Commission, it will go to the city of Montpelier. So that's the highlighted language that you see on lines 9 and 10.
Right. What a town.
Tell you, what a representative, huh? The city of St. Albans doesn't show up anywhere here in this bill.
The next change is one that you will not see. It would have been on the same page after the human services section. We formerly had a section 27 that was specific to ACCD that required ACCD to report back on the project criteria they developed because you've now washed your hands of that whole
Right.
program. That's no longer included here.
3Bs.
Yep.
Exactly. And I think that is all the changes that I had. So pretty
The sergeant at arms stuff is all the same.
all the same. Exactly. Let me go through and make sure I noted all the ones here.
You just got a few commas and
Yeah.
couple word historic, Vermont historic.
Exactly.
So where we are is you'll be coming back. You'll be coming back Tuesday. What we're looking for, John, is Tuesday morning. We're anticipating caucus time. Know what's gonna happen. We got some bills that are postponed till Tuesday.
Yeah.
I'd like to do it in the morning. I'm thinking maybe around 11:30.
I mentioned the speaker, that's likely what we'd be doing.
11:30 is more likely. There's a couple.
Yeah, there's some contentious.
Yeah, we may end up having caucus before we do the bills.
Yeah.
That happens too. Sometimes we end up flipping it and we may do a few bills, then go to caucus before the big bills. Come out. So we don't know how that's gonna play out Tuesday morning.
I am generally available Tuesday morning. I will otherwise be quite booked up with education.
In the afternoon.
Yeah, and the whole,
Yeah.
but
Well,
obviously.
what is it? Are the changes as discussed currently going to be forwarded to Phil?
They're gonna be in a new draft that John does.
That we're gonna
We'll
see.
have Tuesday.
Excellent.
We'll have that Tuesday, and that will, if everything's okay in that draft, that's the draft we will be voting out. And Scott, do you have to do any changes on the
One-
spreadsheet?
Good afternoon, Judy Scott, Board Zone Official for the record. I will add the comment in the end, that one Forest Parks, to make sure it's good. I will remove the word draft from it and the version from it, so that way it's a final version for Madam Chair to sign. So we can give.
I have to sign it. Yeah,
So we can give copies to the floor.
yeah,
So there will be a slightly different version, if you will, but it'll mostly just be prepping it, give to the rest of the chamber.
yeah, and I have to sign it in order for it to be distributed. So on Tuesday morning, I would think, we're on the floor at 10, I would think anytime between 11:30, 12, something around that time, we can come in. It shouldn't take more than 10 or 15 minutes, I don't think. Unless we find something. We'll have a clean draft from John. And make sure everything is in shape and then we vote it out. And then it will be a committee bill that will be introduced on Wednesday on the floor. It's a committee bill for that. So Troy, if you could just double check the notwithstandings and just clarify that with John by Monday.
Yep.
On Monday, so that in case he needs it. And I think we're in pretty good shape.
Sheet we're in.
Good shape. Thank you all for the patience you've had. I think we did some good work. Came together pretty quick. We've done good. Do some work on it this weekend because we'll end up doing probably Wednesday morning. We go back on the floor at 1:00 Wednesday. We will go through the bill and divvy up the sections for people to report. So folks can start working on that. I will probably be going into Appropriations Committee on Wednesday to present the bill, and folks can come in and sit in the audience.
I was gonna recommend doing that. I remember doing that and
It's so
it helped
helpful.
me prepare what I was gonna say on it.
Yeah.
Which was what she said verbatim.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Bingo.
it helps in knowing what the questions are.
That too, yeah.
It really helps in knowing the question.
Well, what I learned today is a proper response from boilerplate.
Don't worry about it.
Everything is,
It's okay.
Just the boilerplate.
Behind the curtain.
Just trust me. I've started a couple presentations where there will be no questions. So, I mean, you know.
So Wednesday, we will be meeting in the morning, 9:00. We're not going to be meeting at 8:30, but I should go through, so we can start breaking up the section. I don't think everyone's going to be reporting, because it gets really long
Yeah.
on the floor. I like to keep the report as condensed as possible
Mhm.
because sometimes it could go on for half an hour, 45 minutes. We don't want that. Appropriations bill, when they report the budget, it's a 4-hour, 3-hour,
Oh, it's quite
3 to
a-
4-hour presentation when they report the budget. So
That sounds like a good time.
Oh, it's painful.
and transportation can be long too, so I just don't
They're
want to
gonna be short.
contribute. I don't want to
I
contribute.
have heard that.
Yeah, they're gonna.
22 pages.
So you get our bill, you get transportation in the budget, and you get a lot, you're gonna yield to the other members. So say Connor starts, maybe it was section 2, and does section 2 and 3, and then he's gonna yield to Brian, and then Brian will do some section,
Right.
then you'll yield to Joe, and then.
Parliamentarian on Tuesday though?
Hmm?
Can we do parliamentarian stuff on Tuesday?
In terms of yielding,
Or you know, the
Process.
Charles Parnell stuff?
what,
Tuesday.
what, how you yield?
Yeah,
Yeah, we'll do that. And it's all gonna be written out in the script in terms of who you yield to. We'll take care of that, but that's how we report. And I don't want a lot of people having to yield to a lot of people.
Yeah.
Cause that gets really tiresome.
5 is good.
Hmm?
Most 5.
Well, we can,
Cause I do an introductory and then I will yield to the person that will start with section 2. And then whoever has the last few sections ends up saying what the committee vote was.
And when you don't know something, always yield back to the chair.
Be careful with that one. Careful, I gotta do some work this weekend. Do some work.
Ditto.
Thank you all. I
Thank you.
know it was tough waiting the last hour and a half. We did it. Thank you.